Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining in again for the 100x live session. And today we'll be talking about the next frontier for India. Uh, India has emerged as the next big frontier for global investors, and it needs to break through to leverage future capabilities. Now, with an abundance of capital, more than 400 plus million internet users, and a thriving entrepreneurial ecosystem buoyed by a Generation Z citizens, the country is at a transformational point. Uh, and at this point, the only question we need to ask is, what should India do to become a 5 trillion economy by 2025? Is it a deep commitment to emerging technologies? What will be the next frontier of wealth creation for India? So join me today as I speak with Vedavalli Rangan, a CEO of Pilani Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development Society, Madhav Bissa, Program Director at Center of Excellence, Data Science and Artificial Intelligence, NASSCOM, and Pranjal Konwar, COO of Assam Startup Nest, and also with IIM Calcutta's Innovation Park. Thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time out today. So I'll begin with uh, Vedavalli, and very quickly for our audience, just to understand um what have you been up to in terms of the initiatives at Pilani Innovation and Entrepreneurship Development Society, and how has the incubation center been supporting the ecosystem? And then we move on to Madhav and Pranjal.
Well, so good evening, everyone. Thank you, Shashank. So, so first thing, so I'm part of the Pilani incubator, and frankly speaking, the incubator has been in existence for quite some time now, promoting entrepreneurship, promoting innovation of startups, both student-led startups and also startups from other parts of the country. It has grown from we are about 50 plus roughly about 50 to 60 companies that have graduated in the recent past, and currently it's in full swing. And we are also one of the beneficiaries of government funding, Type 2.0 funding, apart from other type of corporate partnerships and also other grants that we are working with. So, in terms of development of the ecosystem, in terms of closely interacting with the ecosystem, the recent 4 to 5 months has been a totally different game, totally different outlook with which we have been operating. So, of course, the intent is to ensure that we have a good enriching input to the innovation funnel. So, in the recent past, what we have realized, or what we have the focus has more so towards has been towards working with corporates, trying to understand their vision, trying to understand how their priorities are evolving in this changing economy, and how are they trying to stay relevant in the ecosystem. So we're trying to evangelize a lot of the problem statements, a lot of the issues that they are grappling with, and what is it that they would like to do within the startup community have in campus, and also with some of the startups that are working with us. Apart from that, we have also been working with or trying to team up with investors, something like 100x VC and few other investors and accelerators, basically contributing to the deal flow pipeline and aligning with the investment theses in terms of technologies that they would like to support, maybe in the next 6 months or probably 1 year from now. It's still hazy, but at least trying to align ourselves towards that. In addition, a lot of effort has also been focused towards working with other emerging incubators in terms of sharing best practices or helping them scout and identify the right type of innovations. And more specifically, I would like to highlight that given the focus on government grants and trying to implement the vision that many of these government programs have got, so we are in the process of identifying startups which are weird in that particular areas, and trying to help them with fundraising strategies, and also providing them with funds or other type of support, be it connects and mentors or investors across various domains.
Thanks, Veda, for the quick introduction. Over to you, Madhav. And NASSCOM has been doing a lot of initiatives, and it has been supporting the ecosystem for many years now. and 100x has gone ahead and backed three startups from our class 01 and invested into NASSCOM incubated from the NASSCOM incubator program. But would like to understand what are the current initiatives you are leading at the current AI program which you're heading right now.
So with the objective of fostering innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem using AI and data science, so we have different kinds of programs wherein we provide platform to the different stakeholders within the ecosystem to come together and to connect on concept designing and solution development within the realm of data science and artificial intelligence. So that's our focus area. So, for example, with the government, we help them, advise them, and help them understand the societal impact of AI and how the government can be both a sponsor and a consumer for the AI solutions. For startups, we provide them industry connect, investor connect, and as you mentioned earlier, that we already in 100x VC and NASSCOM, we already have that kind of partnership going on. So apart from that, we also, for the academia, we facilitate research in AI. And for industry, we help them drive the AI adoption. So developing, starting from a POC level to advising them on a co-innovation based solution implementation level.
Got it. Thanks, Madhav, and more on that later during the discussion. Pranjal, over to you. I had the opportunity of visiting Assam, the nest, sometime last year when I visited Guwahati, and was amazed by the sheer zeal of the entrepreneurs over there and the kind of enthusiasm the young generation had over there. And it would be great to understand how Assam, the nest, through IIM Corporate Innovation Park, how are you leading that partnership, and what's the new sentiment in terms of entrepreneur drive in the Northeast region?
Sure. So Shashank, in fact, when you came in, we had just started off. This initiative in Assam was one of its kind in the entire region, and we started off in the early part of that is January of 2019, when the program was flagged off by the Chief Minister, and IIM Calcutta Innovation Park came in as a ecosystem development partner, we initially came about to take care of the incubation center, and then got into helping the government with the complete ecosystem development. And as we move forward, we also stepped outside Assam and got into Meghalaya, which happened in the early part of this year. We have just now, in fact, a couple of weeks back, entered Arunachal. We are also present in Mizoram. So we operate in 3 states in the Northeast, and this has happened in the last 1.5 years, to say. Now, coming specifically to Assam, because other initiatives are very early to talk about, so I'll mostly talk about the initiative in Assam. The first cohort started in June of last year, and the cohort size was 50. And of which about 29% were from technology. We were not. We were a little bit surprised to see 29% coming from technology side, because the understanding here was that majority of the startups and the entrepreneurial, streaks would be from areas like agri, tourism, handicraft, etc. But yes, we saw some coming from at least 29%. That's quite a good number to start off with, coming from technology. And of that, couple of startups were from deep tech, IoT, and 2 of them has gone on to become fairly large. One I would like to mention, Parking Rhino, who we incubated but were operating out of Bangalore, has gone on to become the #1 parking aggregator in India and Philippines. They are also the #1 in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. So that's been quite a milestone from one of our startups. However, talking about the first cohort, our cohort size is cohort time is about 6 months, and we predominantly help them with business incubation rather than technology, because we are not a technology institute. While for technology we partner with IITs, we have partnership with IIT Kharagpur, IIT Kanpur, etc., and some other institutes as well. Similarly, for agree, we have tie up with different institutes across the country, and so forth and so forth. However, talking about the 50 startups that we incubated, we could help 25 of them to move into revenue state within the first 6 months. And in the first fiscal that they were with us, they did a business of about 11 CR. Of these 50 startups, I think nine startup has raised funding to a tune of 10 CR. They have directly, all the startups put together could create an employment, which was an important milestone of measurement for the government of Assam here, to a tune of 1,690, indirect employment to about 40,000, and impacted over 3 lakh lives. So that has been from the impact perspective that has gone through. And if I have to talk about women entrepreneurship, of this cohort of 50, in the first cohort, 20% of the startups were founded by women entrepreneurs, and of that, couple of the startups were from the tech side as well. So that's been an achievement as well. And of the two tech startups led by women founders, one went on to be showcased by WhatsApp. What WhatsApp does is that WhatsApp every year globally identifies 100 startups from across the globe who have used WhatsApp to initiate a business and has been able to sustain and scale. And of that 100, I think 20 were selected from India last year, and one of them was a startup from our incubation, our cohort rather, called Let's Learn Together. So what they did was that they used the WhatsApp platform to teach students on competitive examination in the local language, and then created chatbots in using WhatsApp for business, and created a platform out of it. So that was what was showcased by what was award, kind of selected and showcased by WhatsApp globally. So that's been the experience with the first cohort. The second cohort started in February, but post that, the COVID crisis kind of came in, and people did not know what to do. And at IIMCIP, what we did was that we looked at how startups could help startups, and we created a collaboration program, and we got all the startups from all the programs that we currently are running, the one in Assam, the one in Meghalaya, and the one running out of IIM Calcutta campus. We got we got around 187 startups into one platform, and got them talking, and finally had number of sessions which were domain specific, and we saw a lot of collaborations happening, and these collaborations had led to sustenance of startups which were otherwise thinking of shutting down. So we have also taken target, the leadership team at IIMCIP has taken a target of ensuring zero mortality of startups that we are incubating during the COVID crisis. So that's what is happening at our end, and to keep this engagement alive in Assam during the COVID crisis. What we have done is that we have launched a lot of initiative. We had just started in January a program called Ideation Adda in collaboration with Big FM, and this was a radio program. But since the COVID hit us, this program went off air because Big FM couldn't, carry on with the program. So we took the program into Facebook and Insta, and made it a live Facebook live program, and rebranded it as Idea Clinic. And we've seen huge traction happening in this program. We have had academicians wanting to start up coming in this program. We have seen 4th generation tree planter, reverse migrating from US and wanting to do something in the startup in the tea sector using technology, to numerous different things happening. We also got other programs running. I think there were a lot of these programs which we have, which we use the social media to launch, to connect with the ecosystem, and thereby still be relevant and moving, has helped us to stay relevant, and be connected with our customers.
Sure. So great. Thanks, Pranjal, for sharing the insights. And moving to the main topic of the session today, the next frontier for India. Now, all of you are sitting at multiple and unique vantage points, and with your vast experience, I'd like to open up with Vedavalli. What are your thoughts in terms of the next frontier for India, which will be generating the next level of wealth for India from your vantage point?
Well, so the way I look at it is it's going to be truly internalizing digital. So we keep hearing it's about digitization, it's about digital technologies, but it's about truly internalizing it. What do I mean by truly internalizing something? So we can look at it from three different perspectives. One is about the sectors that need to be are in our focus, in an entrepreneur's focus or an entrepreneur's focus, probably education technology, probably healthcare, probably agri-tech. So these three domains are likely to have immense potential as far as the next few years is concerned within India. Number two, in terms of technologies by itself. So we've been talking about AI, we've been talking about deep tech. It's an umbrella term encompassing multiple technologies, and all these technologies have a huge role to play in the next few years. And more specifically, I would like to highlight the importance of business models. So business model innovation is what I'm talking about. So we keep hearing of entrepreneurs coming up with a solution where they try to adopt a new technology, and it's about the technologists trying to play around with something. But what is really critical is about management innovation or business model innovation that's going to have a key role in the next few years, irrespective of the sector that I talked about. And before I conclude, I would like to highlight that we've been talking about entrepreneurship or startup community building a solution in India, and then when it comes to their growth, we talk about scalability in terms of other regions or probably other segments. I think the next wave is going to be about thinking how exactly distributed economy is going to have a role, what exactly localization is going to do to our businesses, and is it about hyperlocal business, is it about localization, it's about distributed economies. These are the key things that entrepreneurs should be thinking about as a next wave, as a future of Indian entrepreneurship, as something that investors might be wanting to look into.
Great, thanks. So, internalizing digital, business model innovation, distributed economy, localization, prime themes coming out. Over to you, Madhav. Your thoughts in terms of the next wave of disruption and the next frontier which India should be going after.
I would just like to add on what Vedavalli said. So I agree with her on these points. And I just want to add that it will also depend upon our ability to utilize the class of technologies that can harness the value of data, people, and the environment. When I say people, that means the society at large. And when I say environment, it's a natural environment and our business environment and others. And also our ability to also harmonize them, bring them at sync to maximize the value. So that's going to be the next frontier of wealth creation. So if any startup a startup or any other organization can have those kind of solutions or products which can balance all these three aspects, I believe that they have a very good chance of transforming the entire landscape and creating a next round of wealth generation in India, and of course in the world also.
Pranjal, your thoughts? Pranjal, you're on mute.
Sorry for that. While I think that we are the threshold of a technology explosion happening, technology development explosion happening out of India. At the same time, I also my experience has been that the technology, the knowledge of technology is not uniform across the country. By this I mean that though we have a lot of engineering colleges and technology institutes, but the startup ideas or entrepreneurial, streaks coming out of institutes vary a lot, and this variation, are very the spikes are very, kind of uh, uh, wavy, right? So your troughs and these things are very high and low. Which by which I mean that, if I look at Northeast, while the IIT here and the NIT here would bring very good ideas, but the other institutes, uh, uh, may not deliver very good technology ideas. However, they would be able to develop products if properly guided. So I feel that a lot of collaboration will need to happen in terms of uh, the country being able to extract the benefit out of all the technology mind that is available. So a platform may be required to be developed to facilitate that collaboration happening, so that uh, innovative products come out of the country. So that is one of my take. The second take is that we have not been known. We have mostly been known for service product, not for product. Whether it's a physical product or it's a software product, but we have never been known for as a product development country. So I think as a country we would need to focus more on product. These are my takes here. Yeah.
All right. And building out the next big solution, I have been working very closely with incubation centers and looking at companies. 100x has been very active, and uh, what we've observed, and adding to Veda's point, is that education technology, health tech, particularly now in the COVID crisis, are emerging. But your thoughts from your vantage points in terms of, should companies and these new entrepreneurs who are either coming out fresh out of the college be working towards building out a solution or a product for the next billion for the Indian market, or should they be aspirational of building a product for a global market? Since the theme has been always to build out solutions which can then go global. So your thoughts, beginning with you, Veda. Veda, can you hear me? Veda, can you hear me? I think Veda is not able to hear us. Madhav, do you want to go? You're on mute, Madhav.
Okay, sorry about that. So, in my opinion, the next set of entrepreneurs who are going to come, as you said, freshly out of the college and all, they should look at first trying to tap into the Indian market, because it's a huge market. So, and we do have a lot of advantages over the other markets also in the world. So once the Indian market is to an extent has been scaled up, then they can go and try to scale up for the world market. One of the things that will help the entrepreneurs is that while they expand into the Indian market, when they tap into that value, and our market being a heterogeneous market, so that will make them learn the nitty-gritties of their solution and the inherent problems, the issues that we have within our market. So if those problems are met, they are solved, they resolved at the right time with the right mentorship and the right guidance, and then they can think of aspiring. So gradually, step by step, then they can go for the global market.
Sure, sure. Veda, can you hear us now? I think there's some issue at Veda's end.
I can
Pranjal,
hear
do you
you
want to
just
go
now.
next?
I heard Madhav.
Okay. Great. So Veda, we were discussing in terms of your take on, we've been working with a lot of incubation centers, and these are new students coming out and new entrepreneurs, first time entrepreneurs. Now, during the current drive of innovation, should they be building out solutions and products for the next billion in India, or should they be aspirational in terms of building out global products?
Well, very interesting question. I would look at this in four different buckets. So the way I see innovations, be it in AI, deep tech, or any other sector, is there are people who are there are innovations which are purely research driven. People who are developing technology stacks, tech infrastructure. And there is another bucket, which is people who are problem solvers trying to identify a problem, apply one of these emerging technologies, and then try to find solution. There is another bucket, which is predominantly people who are customer focused, trying to tap into newer markets, trying to identify newer opportunities or probably the latent needs of customers, and then trying to build solutions through one or more of these technologies. And there is a fourth bucket, which is basically the technologists who are trying to exploit at the learnings that they've had with the number of technologies that they are aware of, and they're trying to solve a particular problem. So we have different kinds of people trying to innovate, trying to do something good for the community. But what is critical is that we need more of research led innovations. We need more of people who can actually develop the infrastructure, the stacks. And this should be this is going to be common. This is not just going to be specific to India or or any other market. It's going to have a global impact. But when we're talking about problem solvers and when we're talking about customer focused innovators, I think we need more of innovator. We need more of people in these two buckets who are focused on the Indian market, so that we can actually see as Madhav mentioned during one of his earlier conversations, we need to harness the potential of these technologies, have them in action for the market that we are in currently, to be able to reap the benefits and scale better, if at all we would like to scale to other economies.
Thanks, Veda. Pranjal, your thoughts?
See, my take here is that if you are building a product for the 1+ billion people in India, you are anyway building it for almost 28 diverse, kind of states, right? And that itself is a global in some way. And by doing so, and by trying to take into consideration the regional challenges that you would face while trying to create a solution for India, you would thereby be creating a product which would be at least about 75 to 80% global ready.
That's a good point, Pranjal, and I think there's ample opportunity within India. Is what we are understanding with the whole vernacular play, with the whole drive of cheap data across the country. We've all the tier two and tier three cities now for the first time are in a position to build out local business models and enable this young generation, which unlike our times did not have we did not have the access, and today the
Right.
opportunity is there to cater to this. And I think China is a great example to look at, where they built out an inclusive economy cater to their billion plus population. So moving on to the next question, and we all of us are cognizant about the fact that the innovation drive is here for 2020, albeit under COVID situation. But I think this is a great opportunity nonetheless to push the rubber onto the road and test out the true metal for entrepreneurs. And while we continuously see this drive of newer entrepreneurs emerging out of the incubation centers across the country, what are your thoughts in terms of how women are contributing to this ecosystem and the future of women entrepreneurs in India? Your initial thoughts on the same. Again, starting with you, Veda.
Well, so this is an interesting point and an interesting metric that you brought it up today. So based on our experience, if I were to say a real statistic, I would say roughly about 0.5% 1 to 2% of co-founding team is where we see the women contribution in terms of women entrepreneurship, and this is something definitely that can be stepped up. Maybe I wouldn't complain this to various other cultural factors that are actually playing a role in hitting this particular number, but there I think there should be more push, more awareness, more programs that need to be conducted, and we have a lot of these happening, especially from the corporate end. We have, I think, recently I read about NetApp coming up with some program for women entrepreneurs. I don't exactly remember the name. So quite a few programs are happening, quite a few initiatives and drives that are happening across the country. Various stakeholders in the ecosystem are taking a role to step this up. But I think it is the onus is on the individuals to actually step into the game, even if they are not if they would not want to do it all alone. I think they need to think about building a really good co-founding team. It could be an all women team as well, but this number definitely needs to go up, and there is potential considering the type of students that we are getting in the different type of institutions across India, considering the literacy rate, considering the participation in various types of programs, women not necessarily entrepreneurship, but various other programs that are conducted by institutions. We definitely see this number that can be on the positive side, but it has not actually happened. So as compared to other economies, I think we definitely need to step up.
Madhav, your thoughts?
Yeah. So adding on to what Veda said, so there's a saying that behind every successful man there's a woman. So just if we extend that and say that behind every successful economy or civilization, there is the strength of behind these are the strength of the women in that civilization, in that economy. So women entrepreneurs will play a very pivotal role in coming days, and the trends are there, and we are looking at and we are observing women putting in more focus on technology-enabled solutions coming out. And since the focus is on AI, so I'll just like to quote an example. For example, there's a Nirma AI, a health tech startup. So started by two women co-founders, Geeta Manjunath and Nidhi Mathur. So it's about identifying the early stages of cancer using non-invasive and radiation-free painless methods. So now thinking like that, it's a woman who can think about there should not be pain, more compassionate by nature as compared to men. So the thought process, the way they nurture the inherent capabilities and abilities of women, and then when they extend this into their entrepreneurial journey, I believe they will create an ecosystem wherein we will have not just a high growth economy, but a very sustainable economic ecosystem. And we listen to all the success stories these days now with women coming in more and more, not just in technology, but other areas also. And many of them are thinking of, so few of them whom I know, they are into consumer product categories. So trying to see if they can be new kind of categories which can be tapped into, and the solutions can be offered into not just technology, but just products also, apart from technology. So I believe that I do see a future wherein the women are leading the entrepreneurial ecosystem within India.
Pranjal, your thoughts on the same?
See, the story has been fairly different for us here. Maybe it's a regional factor, but to start with, in our first cohort, we had close to 20% of the startups that we are incubating are founded by women entrepreneurs. In the second cohort, it is about 26%. As we move out of Assam and step into Meghalaya, where our first cohort has started in January, there it is almost 50% startups being kind of founded and led by women entrepreneurs. And I'm sure as we move ahead in Arunachal in the next couple of months, the scene wouldn't be very different. But I think this is purely a regional thing here, because except for Assam and Tripura, the rest of the states, the tribal states, are all matriarchal society, and where women has a huge say in in business life, everything, right? They've always been a driving factor in everything to do with life, and hence I think it is also evident in the startup ecosystem. But yes, from an Indian perspective, from a larger Indian context perspective, I think a lot more needs to be done in terms of getting women entrepreneurs onboarded into the ecosystem, whether as a founder or as co-founders. I think corporates are stepping in with different programs to facilitate and encourage this aspect, this particular aspect. However, I think a lot more needs to be done by specific state governments in their states where they run the startup initiatives, as well as the different programs that different incubation facilities run. They could also, help in terms of pushing this thought across.
Thanks, Pranjal. In fact, we'll move on to the last couple of questions before we open it up for the audience questions. But one of the questions from the audience is, what are the things that government can and should do to enable wealth creation? And I think since you touched upon it briefly, I think let's begin with that question and then we'll move on to the other one. So, Veda, Madhav, Pranjal, what are your thoughts in terms of the government's approach in terms of helping enable this next frontier of wealth creation? One aspect, obviously, is that a government is supporting the incubation centers through its Atal Innovation Mission and Department of Science and Technology schemes. But since you're on the ground and your interaction with these government policy holders is quite intensive and quite at the forefront, do share your insights in terms of the practical aspects of government's contribution to this particular drive.
Well, let me just try to take the first shot on this. What we see is that government has been helping a lot. We have seen great programs rolled out in the past. And what we are seeing now is the dividend, in terms of actual implementation, operationally successful programs, not just in terms of strategic inputs, but also hand-holding us and supporting us in various initiatives and also the programs that we are running, number one. What could probably happen, or what would be of immense interest to someone like us, an incubator, or for the startups or entrepreneurs, is that if we could actually build the ecosystem government is actually trying to do. We have the Startup India programs, various programs that are in place now, but how do we get the entire community together? If not all the stakeholders, at least how do we get the startup community, the entrepreneurs, and also the corporates together? How do we ensure that? Because this is an important piece in the puzzle, because if a startup has a great idea, if something is really fruitful, something is going to have an impact in the society, investors are there to back it up, as long as it's a great idea. But it should be something great. And how do we corroborate it? How do we ensure it is something interesting that I'm working on? It's going to have an impact. It's going to have a larger focus. So that calls for increased interaction with large corporates, family businesses in India, number one. And number two, even after the development of a solution, when we move on to a POC stage or an MVP stage, I think a closer, tighter, watertight engagement with corporates is extremely essential to be able to test the waters, to be able to, someone who can actually handhold us in taking something to the next level, or probably help us pivot in the right manner, right? So a lot of times startups struggle, they do pivot. We really don't know if that pivot is also actually making sense, because they hear from multiple people and people do take a call. Mentors do have a role to play, but not many times corporates or startups are actually able to make sense of it. So a very tighter engagement with corporates. If some programs could be rolled out, probably a tri-party engagement or something, that would actually be of immense interest to us and will boost the entrepreneurship initiatives in campuses, or even with other non-academia led incubators as well.
Madhav, your thoughts?
So, as we know, the government has the focus of government has been on innovation and is helping with the policy measures and other things. So, one of the key things is that the first focus has to be on people, on the skilling up the people. So, the government is doing a lot right now, and it's just that we need to pick up the pace because many of the new age learners, students and learners also, otherwise also uh, they need a kind of a curriculum which can enhance the capabilities. So skill development, talent management, these are the things. Things are in place. There are programs there. All we need is to uh, increase the pace in that term. And then there's about data. So we consume perhaps the maximum data in the world as a nation, and the fact that there's so much data available within India. So is there a way that this data can be made available anonymized on an anonymized basis, wherein startups can come and play around with data, create solutions, and showcase their capabilities. And in turn, we never know, with a couple of unicorns may come out of that. So that's there. And then, of course, uh, having a centralized team which gives us the vision and the mission about the technologies or the next level, and then let the execution will be within the all the states that they are there, and they can all come up with. So one center, and then we have a kind of a hub and spoke model. So, for example, the center of excellence that we are at, it's an initiative by Government of India and Government of Karnataka, and there's another one in Telangana as well. So state governments are doing their bit. Everybody's doing their bit. The key is to have a common thread, so that the efforts are not duplicated, thereby saving costs on these efforts at the same point of time, maximum the value.
Agreed. Very, very valid point. Pranjal, over to you.
Yeah, see, a lot is already happening from the government's end. Like, for example, apart from the Utter Innovation Mission and the different state initiatives, the government has gone forward and stated that if corporates are now allowed to use their CSR fund for, developing the startup ecosystem. That is one, right? At the same time, STPI has gone forward and are now is now starting off. Eight center of excellences plus incubation centers in the eight northeastern states, and with each one with a theme. There is one for IoT, there is one for deep tech, there is one for web development, there is one for media. So they have, each state capital would have one COE with incubation facility, and it is thematized that way, right? So so a lot of this such work is happening. So has many governments gone forward and released policy initiatives wherein they are saying that startups would not have to they've made it easy for startups to participate in tenders, etc. So those things are happening, but beyond that, what needs to happen is that to make it a mass movement. So so is education. Like Madhav just spoke about getting entrepreneurship integrated into education. Delhi has done it. Rajasthan is trying it out. Assam is piloting a program very similar to Delhi, starting with students of class 10 or upwards till graduation. So all those things are happening, but what more needs to happen is that government has different institutions, different corporations, as well as state-owned corporations, as well as laboratories, etc. These facilities should be made available to startups to go and try out and use the facility for prototyping, etc. At a very nominal cost, or maybe at a free to use kind of a program. At the same time, these institutes should also, the government institutes or corporations should also be the first ones to try out these prototypes. So thereby giving these guys, these startups, a place to head start. So that could, I think that could lead to a lot of innovation actually moving from the lab to left to the road. So I think these are certain couple of things that needs to happen and happen very fast if we are to
Sure.
see projects becoming products from college labs to to the street, moving to the street. Yeah.
Sure. So I have, we're running short of time, but I have two questions from the audience. I'm going to club them together, and then any one of you can take, attempt on that, and then I'll have my final question, and then we can conclude. So the two questions are, what are the challenges Indian companies can expect when they're building out global solutions from our own ecosystem? And the second is, should the should the companies or should the companies be going global in the first place? And before any of you attempt to answer that question, I think another point which I'd like to add over here, a question from my side, is that we're talking about innovation drive, we're talking about health tech, we're talking about education technology and multiple sectors, even clean energy and clean tech and sustainable as a sector. What the point is that we have a very large IT sector in India, and uh, which is doing very, very well over the last few years. And they have started partnering, quote unquote, with vendors or agile solutions. And most of these large companies are also catering to most of these large solutions are also catering to global partners. So the real objective is, while we want to build out solutions for India, uh, should we also understand what the global landscape is? Because should solutions coming out of incubation centers and being funded by seed funds understand how our large corporates in India are trying to work with agile solutions? It's a longest question, but what I'm trying to clubbing with the questions from the audience and from my side is that while whatever we are building out for India, should we always keep in mind the global opportunity, particularly for the B2B segment, and not so much on the B2C side? Anyone, Veda, Madhav, whoever wants to go.
Great. So I'll answer the first part about the challenges that are there regarding. So one key challenge that I see when the Indian startups or Indian companies they want to expand overseas or go tap into the overseas markets is the culture aspect. Apart from the regular legal and other things, it's the culture. They need to understand the culture, the way the business is being conducted in that particular country. So in one country, it differs from country to country, as we all understand now. And yes, we cannot say that we will just make products for India. Yes, we will make products for India, but then we have to also expand overseas or across the world, because we cannot live in isolation. As a nation, we have never lived in isolation. So that's one. So the key over here will be like make in India for the world. So that's something I guess that's the philosophy that we should follow. As I said earlier, that we need to tap into the Indian market first. And as Pranjal said, 28 states will give us the nitty-gritties and nuances of expanding, and then will almost 40 to 50% ready for the overseas market. And then when we go try to understand the culture, different cultures, and in B2B, it becomes more important in the B2B also, because some point down the line, the way the business is conducted in a country is at times a reflection of the population that's there, a large population that's there. So we need to understand that as well. And from there on, we are just limited by our imagination and our efforts. That's it.
Sure. Very quickly, a 1 minute response from your side, Veda, Pranjal, moving on then to the final question for the session.
Well, so when we're talking about B2B, Pranjal, I'll go. So when we're talking about B2B, so I would like to look at it in two different ways. One is about how is it that businesses define innovation? Are we talking about incremental changes? Or are we talking about disruptive innovations? So if there is a startup from India which is building for India, coming up with a newer solution for India, it could be innovative. It might be something disruptive for India, but or the way Indian businesses have been operating. But they need to have cognizance in terms of what is happening elsewhere in other parts of the globe. So that actually defines whether it is something scalable, whether it is something that they should be thinking about other markets, or is there anything that they could learn from other markets and bring back to India and improvise on the existing solution that they are trying to build for India.
Got it. Pranjal?
Yeah, in fact, just building on to what Veda just said is that, uh, Israel is a very small country, right? With a very small population, but they've been building global solutions, while at the same time the solutions are also that much relevant for the local population. So what is it that they are doing is something that our startups also need to look at, so that they are able to build local solutions, at the same time create global products while doing so is something that needs to be pondered and thought of before developing products. At the same time, just adding on to what Madhav says, it is about, the product is fine, but when you step into a new country, there is a cultural aspect to it. So you need to be mindful about the cultural aspect. And yes, me coming from shifting from corporate to this particular ecosystem and having worked with different nationalities, I know how important it is and how difficult it is at times. So and it would be very difficult for youngsters coming out of college to get that particular aspect of the business modeling right in the initial stage without someone helping. So I would suggest that such startups who are trying to build global products should also look at getting in a mentor to help them from the cultural aspect.
Sure. Thanks, Pranjal. And as the final question before we end the session, very quick thoughts from all of you, Veda, Madhav, and Pranjal, on your outlook on COVID-19 and how it will impact, or how entrepreneurs, our viewers, should be leveraging this crisis as an opportunity.
Well, so frankly speaking, it's very hard to guess as to what is going to be the thing that will gain traction, that is going to be of interest. But to make an educated guess, so just as we've been hearing, I think it's about solutions in the communication space, collaboration space, remote working type of solutions, or probably things that can actually move things to the completely virtual setup, immersive learning, immersive experiences. These are the things, AR, VR, these are the type of technologies that can actually take the lead in the future. Apart from that, we are aware of things around agility, things making things faster or making things do things better. So these will be the key things driven by the technologies that we have been talking about, AI or deep tech. What I also feel is that entrepreneurs need to be evolved in their thoughts, need to mature their thoughts from being niche players. So what we normally preach, or what we normally tell entrepreneurs, is that be good at what you're doing, be the segment of the market, and be aware of the value that bring in. Definitely this is important, but as they evolve, they should also it should evolve from being a niche player to an ecosystem play. So just as for example Paytm, from being a very niche player in the payment space, to where they have evolved in the entire financial services ecosystem. How is it that startups can actually think big, and how they can actually evolve in a shorter span of time is something very critical in the post COVID-19 economy.
Thanks, Veda. Madhav, your final thoughts?
So my final thoughts is that the post-COVID landscape will be driven by the organizations who are flexible in terms of their supply chains, in terms of the business models, and these business models have to be flexible enough to manage situations like this, the COVID. So probably as we were discussing once, that one of the forces that can be added to a five forces model is the natural disasters happening. So we just don't know. This is a pandemic, so so they want to take that also in account when they are formulating their strategies and all. So post-COVID, yes, of course, everything is almost everything is going to be go digital. But the way we as Vedavalli said, that immersive technology, the way we consume data, the way we generate data, and all these things. So the change will be driven by technology, and it's going to lead. It's going to lead that the entire engine of economy.
Thanks, Madhav. Pranjal, your thoughts?
Not sure when the new normal would come about, but however, what we are telling our startup is that because we work with extremely early stage startups, the idea is to help them to navigate through these tough times and survive the crisis, and then think about what they actually want to do. And while doing so, many of them we have seen have been able to pivot and redefine themselves, and have been able to sustain and scale at the same time. So that's what has happened. However, yes, in the new normal, technology is definitely going to be a definitive force with regards to any change that come about in terms of handling or managing change. That is definitely going to be there. But at the same time, the way organizations work is also going to undergo a huge amount of metamorphosis, that I have to say. uh, One thing that we have all seen is that immediately after the crisis hit us, we all thought that moving into the virtual world would solve a lot of problem. And yes, for a very temporary period, productivity went up. People started doing a lot of things, but then suddenly productivity came down. And the realization has been that anything that we did in the physical world in a particular way, and moving it into the virtual dimension, and trying to do the same stuff through video conferencing, etc., may not be the way forward. And hence, I think a lot of organizations will have to go back to their drawing board and relook at what they need to achieve, what the mission statement says, and at the same time, look at how to deliver to the customer the products or services they intend to do in the new normal. So while they might be doing the same stuff, but the delivery mechanism might undergo a lot of change. That is what I foresee.
Great. Thank you, Pranjal. And, thank you all for taking the time out and sharing your insights. This was a very, very interesting discussion. And at 100x.vc, we continuously receive support from incubation centers who work very closely with us. And it's exciting to see the opportunities coming out of all the centers. We are excited to continuously evaluate them, and I'm personally excited to kind of look at other opportunities coming out of Pilani, NASSCOM, and Assam Nest. And we are just closing our next set of investments, and we'll be announcing soon. And we'll open up for Class 03 soon. And I'm hoping that this time around we can identify great opportunities from Pilani's Innovation Center, NASSCOM, and Assam Nest. So thank you once again, Vedavalli, Madhav, Pranjal, for taking the time out, and I look forward to discussing with you. To all the entrepreneurs, if you want to reach out to us with your pitch decks, you can reach out to us at pitch@100x.vc. And yes, thank you so much, all of you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for.
Thank you,
Thank
Shashank.
you.
It was a pleasure connecting with everyone here.
Take care. Bye.